let's talk about neediness in dating. Now, this is a very common thing in men's dating advice where it's like, oh, that's needy behavior, that's beta behavior. And so a lot of guys will umbrella label, oh, that's all neediness, that's needy behavior. And I see it way too often where guys learn these terminologies from dating coaches and then they just like spray gun label everything as that. Oh, that's beta, 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 beta. Low value, low value, low value. That's validation, validation, validation. And it's like, don't do. I think that it's kind of like you hear a word for the first time and you really want to use it, so you use it everywhere, which is fine. That's the learning process. Is you learn something cool and then you're going to spam it all over the place because it's cool and it gives you new insights into how socializing and psychology and seduction works. But then as you use it enough, you hopefully start to refine it and start to understand that not everything is neediness. Not everything that looks beta is beta, right? There are nuances in dating. But maybe most people don't. Most people do just learn terminologies. I mean, just look around the world at, the state of conversation when it comes to politics, ideology, race, gender, etc. Like, a lot of people learn certain terminologies on both sides. I'm not picking on one side of the spectrum, conservative or not conservative, but because, there's a lot of interpretations of liberal, blah, 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 whatever. And people will just use buzzwords. And they learn these buzzwords and they just like press it in an argument. And they're like, oh, I said the word. It's like, okay, but do you really understand what that means? And then they'll give some definition that they learned, but they never actually even question the definition. So we're going to be questioning the definition of neediness, right? So one second. Let me fix my sleeve here. There we go. Okay, that feels better. Oh, this sleeve too. My hoodie was riding up and it's just not comfortable. Okay, so neediness. What does it actually mean to be needy? And what's an example of not neediness that's misunderstood or like misdiagnosed as neediness? And then what's genuine neediness? So genuine neediness. Let's look at the word. Neediness. I need something. Okay. You obviously don't need a girl's attention, right? So let's understand deeper what it's really mean. You are so craving of sex or attention or affection from a girl that it's coming off as if you need it, like you would need to eat because you're starving. Okay, so this guy's starving, so he doesn't have food. He doesn't have access to food. What does that indicate about him? Well, he doesn't have any options. Well, if this guy doesn't have any options, well, should I really be going with him? Because if he doesn't have options, that doesn't really sound like he's a good catch, right? It's already like, it's kind of like you do a credit report. And she gets your credit report, and you're like, yeah, I want to get this loan. Like, I'm going to do this and this and this with it. And she's like, okay, that sounds good in theory, right? But then she goes and does a credit report on you. And that credit report says this guy misses almost every payment. He's defaulted on these loans and these loans. And he just racks up credit and never pays it back. Okay, so you can tell me all day, like, here's my business plans, da, 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 and you might actually be genuine with it. This might be the moment where, like, you're going to change your life and you're going to... But these companies who are lending you money, why would they give you money? There's no indication that you're going to pay them back, right? So we might feel bad in dating when people don't, girl won't give us attention and validation and sex and give us a chance, right? Just give me a chance. Well, why is she going to give you a chance when there's no indication that giving you a chance will bring any profit to her? And there needs to be profit to her. Why would she give you her body and her time and her energy and possibly years of her life when there's going to be no return on it? Like, that's stupid. Why are you asking people to, like, sacrifice for you, but you're not willing to sacrifice enough to become something worth sacrificing for? Very interesting to think about, right? So when you act needy, that's like showing her your credit report. And you are just showing her you have shit credit because no one else is willing to lend you money. So you're just desperate for her to lend you money. Or in, the case of the metaphor, her attention, her kisses, her affections, her pussy, whatever. So when you're needy, you come off hungry. And when you come off hungry, it indicates that you don't have a lot of food, which means you don't have the money to buy food or the skill to hunt, right? So Is it that actually simple, though? You do needing behavior. Let's say I send a text that's needy. I respond too fast, or, I act too interested, or whatever. Okay. Does that mean I'm low value? No. Right? You can have, let's go back to the metaphor of hunger, right? I could be a rich person who could possibly afford any food in the world at any time what I want. But am I going to still get hungry from time to time? Yeah, I'm going to be sitting on my couch playing a game and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. But then I don't feed myself and then I continue playing and then I'm like, oh, I'm really hungry. Well, if someone were to look at me in that moment, they'd be like, oh, wow, he's so hungry. He must be poor and can't afford food. That'd be fucking stupid, right? I just go to my fridge or order food, right? So you can have the energy of hunger without actually being poor and starving. Okay, so we need to understand there's nuance here, and that a lot of women aren't so brutal that if you make one mistake, they're going to cut you off. The only reason we think it's that way, it's because in the beginning of an interaction with a woman, that's the most volatile time to make a mistake with her, is because you have so little built up with her that a little mistake can ruin it. So if you do something needy early on, then it's very likely that she can make that assumption, though that's his full credit report. Now, she should give me more time. Well, if she gives more time to everybody, she's just going to be spending her entire life giving chances to guys. So she needs to make these fast assumptions about people because it's the most efficient way to date. Now, is sometimes some diamonds going to get lost in the rough? Yeah, of course. That's what's going to happen when you're just like, ding, 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 ding. But I wouldn't really blame women for this, right? So, first lesson there is once we understand what neediness is, you want to make sure that you're very careful in the beginning of a seduction because you should be. Because if you think about it, you just met this girl. So you shouldn't really be investing that much in her anyways. Because what is there to invest in her? She doesn't have anything spectacular that you know of, aside from her beauty, that is really worth giving all this energy for in the first place. She hasn't earned that attention. Now, that doesn't mean you can't compliment her. That doesn't mean you can't be excited to talk to her. This is where I'm going to get into the nuance and where I differ from a lot of men's dating coaches and red pill especially. Because, again, they'll just blanket okay, then don't compliment her. So they'll come to the same conclusion I just did, but then they're like, all right, well, yeah, don't give a woman validation. She hasn't earned it, so don't give a compliment. I'm like, no, now you're taking it too far. So where is that nuance? Well, we need to learn the nuance between needy, hungry, and energetic or passionate. So I can walk up to a woman and I can be like, wow, you're so beautiful. And I could just be excited to talk to her. I'm just excited, passionate, energetic, whatever. We'll use all those words together. And it goes amazing with women. I've walked up to women and just been like, oh my God, you are gorgeous. And I just sell it like, wow, I really feel this way about you. I'm going to tell you. And so many red pill dating coaches would be like, oh, that's bait. Bro, 10 minutes later, she was sucking my dick. There was obviously not that much beta behind it because then she was treating me like she would a Chad who walks up like, sup. I would say that a lot of times the guy who walks up and doesn't show interest is the fucking nerd, beta, loser, cuck, whatever you want to call it, because he didn't have the balls to just say, hey, I think you're nice. You got a fat ass. I want to put my dick inside of it. That's the most alpha shit to me. But I can do it while all being so nice and cute. Oh my God, damn, God, you are gorgeous. Oh, what's your name? And I can act like that and then be fucking balls deep inside of her 30 minutes later, an hour later, a couple days later, because we have to set up a date, whatever. So, I really, really want you guys to stop being fucking monkeys when it comes to your, oh, I heard this terminology and I'm just going to, use your fucking brain, okay? So, I can be energetic. Energetic doesn't mean needy. Now, can energetic easily slide into neediness? Well, yeah. Because you have a lack of discipline. So you're like, okay, Hector's giving me permission. I can go, oh, wow, you're so beautiful. Okay, that's good, right? You keep talking to her. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you keep fucking acting like that, then yeah, she's going to get the credit report that's your entire feelings about her. So then, of course, right? wow, you're so beautiful. Nice to meet you. What's your name? I'm Sarah. I'm Hector. Nice to meet you. Da-da-da-da-da. Whatever. Talk, 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 talk. And you're just normal. You're cool. So I showed that initial energy in the beginning. Then I relaxed because now we're just having a conversation. But she knows my intentions, right? So she saw that was just energy. Now then we get into the more extreme forms. Now you get into hunger and then neediness, right? So hunger is like, okay, now you're taking it a step further. Hunger is when like you're feeling it. Like, you ever been on a date with a girl and you're like a little bit tipsy and you're like, fuck, she's so hot. I want to, you start getting really turned on and then you're like, I want to pull, right? Or like, I want to, I really want to kiss her. Like, that's when you're starting to get hungry. Now, hunger is a very interesting state because it can mean the difference between, it can slide back into passion if it's like skillful, or you can discipline it back to passion, or it can slide into neediness. So let's say you're like, hey, you want to get out of here? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it's just the first date or whatever. She comes up with a reason. And then you start to be like, oh, come on, it'll be fun. All right. If you start to get persistent, then it gets really, really, you might be on either side. You can be persistent and be like, oh, okay, like, I understand. And let it rest and then come back 10 minutes later. Because that happens sometimes. You ask a girl to come home with you. And she's like, oh, I don't know, and she gives you that look like maybe, and you're like, okay, cool. And you backpedal a bit and you relax for like 10, 15, 20 minutes and you just start talking. Basically what you're saying is, I understand you're on the fence, so I'm going to back off and then come back later. And then 20 minutes later, you ask her again, is that needy? No. You were disciplined, took a step back, seduced her a little bit more, built up some rapport. She could see that, which also gave you value because she could see that you weren't needy when you saw a sign of reservation. And then you push through it, and then she's like, okay, yeah, sure. Because you demonstrated patience. And patience indicates that you're not needing food. You're just hungry for food. See the difference? Okay. So, but it can easily slide into neediness. We're like, come on, baby, come. Right? If you just blindly, dumbly push, then she's going to be like, all right, this guy doesn't have any game. He doesn't have any finesse. Because game is the ability to push forward just enough, not too much and not too little, because you can push forward too little. There's tons of guys who are like, I'm not going to try. And then they don't get anything because they didn't try. And then you can have the guy who like slogged away for another hour, like, come on, da-da-da. Okay. Rest. Talk. No. Yes. Okay, now she's down. Let's go. And then, of course, the alpha guy would be like, yeah, it's not worth my time. Bro, it's just 30 minutes or an hour. So if 30 minutes or an hour of more effort can get my fucking dick wet, it's like having a girl in your bed and she's like, I don't know, maybe. And you're like, okay, cool. And you spend like an hour and a half like making out, dry humping. She's on the fence. No, okay, relax, maybe watch a movie, da-da-da. And then like halfway through the movie, she's like choking on your dick and you're like bending her over and just smashing her pussy. And it's like, okay, yeah, I had to like stick around and be patient. And she maybe needed that to feel like, okay, I made him wait a little bit. All right, I got laid, right? But then some guys would be like, if it takes any effort at all, it's not worth my time. It's like they're literally the same as the feminists. Or like, if you're not 6'10", 500 pounds of muscle, $1 billion net worth, and I won't even look at you. And it's like, okay, it's literally the same thing. So, yeah, the hunger moment is necessary because you're probably not going to jump to the next phase if you're just totally cool. A master seducer can know how to only vary between hunger and a little bit of energy, and never slide into neediness. But it's super difficult because it requires discipline over your emotions. And the only way you can get discipline over your emotions is either through meditation or through practicing with women. Because even if you're really good at meditation, it's very different to be in the moment with a woman. Because the lust that comes into your heart when you're just meditating is very different from the lust of when you have a beautiful girl in front of you. Right? There's a reason why monks isolate themselves from women, because lust is already going to come up in their heart regardless, right? But if there's a woman in front of you, that's just too much. Like, it's just, why are you putting the difficulty setting to the extreme, right? There's just no point. So you need to practice being around hot women and disciplining your emotions while you're with them. So neediness has a spectrum, right? And then what I want you to do is start thinking much more specific about what you're needy for. Because, oh, you're needy. Okay, what are you needy for? Let's look at the word again. You need something. Well, he's needy for sex. He's needy for attention. He's needy for validation. Whatever, right? Okay, that's true, right? But those are still very big general terms. I want you to start breaking it down to the moment-by-moment neediness. So when you're texting a girl, start looking at your texts and then ask yourself, am I being needy? Well, needy is a very specific emotion, right? So let's say a girl, says, oh, hey, sorry, I can't make it. And you respond, really? Come on, why not? That is needy, because now that neediness also comes from a place, right? It might come from a place of insecurity or lack of abundance, right? Which are also different things. You always have to look at the cause of these things. And this requires you to have a really good, watch over your own mind and heart. So she flakes on you and you get upset. The way you can understand if something was needy is you look at the text, for instance, and you go, okay, this text is in direct response to this text. So she flaked on me, and my tone is like, oh, come on, which is very whiny, and it's needy because she withdrew something that I wanted, and I needed it. So, yes, you're needy for sex, but more specifically in this moment, you were needy for that date, and you were needy for the confirmation of the date, right? You're like, hey, are we still on for tomorrow? Okay, you need, right? So it can also just be not even reactive, right? You can bring out neediness on your own. Like when one of the biggest sins with confirming dates is try to confirm the day before or days before. Never do that. Always confirm the day of. And don't say, are we still on? Just say, hey, I'll see you at 6. Never, ever, ever, like the day before, hey, are we still on for tomorrow? That's neediness, because you are needing reassurance that tomorrow she's actually going to go on the date with you. So you're needing of an emotion. And now, Hector, why are you so focused on the words? I get it, needy, you need something. I get it. Quit fucking repeating it, right? I understand that you might feel that way when I pound the same lesson into your head. But I'm trying to get you to learn differences between emotions, because neediness is one emotion. Eagerness is another emotion. And neediness isn't the only thing that's like unattractive to women, right? You could be rude to a woman, and that could be unattractive to her. But sometimes it might not be, because you can be rude to someone, but it actually heightens their attraction because it shows you have boundaries. Because there's a difference between someone who sets boundaries, and one person might say they're an asshole, and the other person says, no, they just have self-respect. So there are many different emotions that can be unattractive to women: neediness, rudeness, lack of intelligence, or pretension, thinking you're too smart. Moral righteousness might be super attractive. It might be unattractive. Okay? So you need to understand that neediness is only one aspect of dating, and it's an important one to understand because it's a very common one, but you need to look inside your heart and say, what am I needing? And once you understand what you're needing, then you can ask yourself, do I need it from her? That's the ultimate lesson, is you don't actually need that much from her, right? Unless you're going to be you're not going to go be a monk, right? So you do, to some extent, want sex in your life, okay? Do you need it? I'd say it's a complicated answer. Not to live, but most people would go kind of crazy if they didn't have any sort of affection or sex in their life. I mean, look at the people who don't get it. Look how fucking crazy they go. Look at the communities that they spawn, the things that they'll do. Like, it really drives you crazy if you see all these people having sex and then you're not getting it. It can really make you feel bad, right? So you do need it to a certain extent. And if you accept that, that can also lessen the neediness. If you accept that you need sex and affection on some level, it actually makes it have less power over you. Because you're like, okay, I acknowledge that I need it. Like, I do really like her. But if you fight it and you resist it, it might actually make it stronger. Do you see how complicated this can get? I mean, I could go on for fucking hours. But neediness, you need to understand there's degrees. And the best way, I think, is that there's hunger in the middle, and then there's just like, I'm just energetic for it, but I'm not quite like hungry yet, but then too much and it's needy. And break it down to your words and your text. Like every word, every thought, every text, is that needy, or is it a different emotion? So spend some time and reevaluate how you're dating and which behaviors are needy and which are not. And by understanding neediness better, you'll actually do it less. And by doing it less, you will be less unattractive to women and therefore be more attractive to women and get more results with them. So hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell. If you want to check out any of my courses, check the description and message me on Instagram, because at the moment I don't have the website up, but maybe when you're watching this later I do. So just check the description. If you want to sign up for private coaching, you can message me on Instagram. And also you can check out my private videos that are only available on Patreon. And yeah, so hope you enjoyed the video. Hector Castillo. Ciao.